Erin and Kay. And as Josh said, I'm the CEO and founder of Claiming Disability LLC. If you're not familiar with Claiming Disability LLC, we are a limited liability organization working to educate, empower, and advocate for the disabled community through media projects. I have a world-renowned podcast that people have listened to in over 10 countries. And like Josh said, I've been really lucky, just amazed that I've been able to interview as many awesome disabled people as I've been able to interview through my podcast, like Jim LeBrecq and Nicole Newham from the Oscar-nominated, unfortunately, we didn't win an Oscar this year, Crip Camp documentary available on Netflix. So hopefully some of you guys have seen it. If you guys have, give me a little yay or some kind of indication. I'm sorry I'm doing this on my phone, so I might not see you guys. But hopefully you watch that film because it's very impactful for the disabled community. Yay, Nicole, I see you, girl. I do. Thank you. I appreciate that. And we love Crip Camp. It's a celebration of disability. It's a celebration of disabled people being themselves. So that's why I love that film so much. And I'm really thankful. Some of you guys are saying loved it. I'm really glad some of you folks have seen it. And so that's a little bit about what I do. Now, excuse me, I gotta get my bearings here, but yes, the film really is amazing. And I've actually gotten in contact with my friend Keith Jones, who just won an Emmy for outstanding music and lyrics in the Netflix documentary Rising Phoenix, which is kind of a story that follows 3 Paralympic athletes. I don't know if you guys have seen the We 15 campaign, hopefully, but it's a big campaign really pushing, like, Paralympians aren't inspirations. They're just people who are very motivated, like a lot of us here. And as Josh said, I do have cerebral palsy. I've used a wheelchair in the past. I've used a scooter. I've had a multitude of surgeries, and sorry, I'm having a minute here. I've had a multitude of surgeries, and so I mean, I have a sense, because I've seen a few people pop up that I'm familiar with, that most of you guys have cerebral palsy. So I'm not really going to go into that, but as you guys know, cerebral palsy is a neurological condition that's due to lack of oxygen in the brain, and that's how we end up with it, and it impacts our mobility. So that's why I use a walker. I have AFOs, which you guys probably all know that stuff. I feel like I'm preaching to the darn choir. So let me pull up my PowerPoint here if I have the administrative ability to do that. Do I, Josh?
I think I gave you that. Let me check. Yeah.
Okay. Can you guys see what's happening here? Or
Well, that's so cool. It's on your phone. Oh, okay.
yeah. I like being able to set my podcast my tripod up. Can you guys all see my PowerPoint?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Okay. I'm not sure. So I'm just like, okay, I've put it in presentation mode, but it's not letting me. Oh, maybe I have to. What am I doing wrong here, Josh? All right.
So, it looks good. We can see it. Yep.
Oh, fantastic. So briefly, a little bit about my backstory. I know Josh talked to you guys a little bit. I've been in the governmental, the education, and the nonprofit sector for the last 10 years. I graduated college in 2012. I'm an oldie, but a goodie. With an educational foundations and nonprofit degree. I started working at the Regional Office of Education, which is a educational liaison for school districts, and I started as a grant writer. For me, being a grant writer was a really valuable skill I learned because I'm not sure why that popped up. It was a really valuable skill because I ended up using grant writing in every sector that I went to. Beyond that, I loved working with students. Working with students is probably my favorite thing about working in the governmental sector or the nonprofit sector. I decided to move away from that and move into the nonprofit sector. I wanted to get my feet wet, so I started working for an organization called Outreach Incorporated, which did hunger presentations. They fought with hunger, with Feeding America and those kinds of causes, and they were feeding third world countries. So I learned a lot in the nonprofit sector. And then I moved to working for the National Alliance on Mental Illness as a fundraising director. If you're not familiar with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, they provide free education support groups for people experiencing mental illness. So I raised over $500,000 with that organization. And unfortunately, I won't say which jobs, but I experienced some discrimination with my various employments. Now, raise your hand or leave me a little comment. I probably can't see your hands raised, honestly. If you've ever experienced discrimination in the workforce. I can't see anything. I don't know.
Yeah, we got a few hands up.
Okay, great. I can imagine, as disabled people, we do experience that, unfortunately. I was rehearsing this last night with my husband, and he's like, even though those stories embarrass you, you really should be open about some of your interview and discrimination stories. So I worked in donor relations. I did fundraising and all of that, like I said. And I went into a job interview locally here, and I was sitting in HR and I was filling out some paperwork. And I have my walker. I walk with a walker. It's the only way I can walk. And the woman who was interviewing me, she saw me in the HR building, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to meet you." And then she looked down at me. She looked down at me, my walker and my braces, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you didn't have to come into this job interview if you've broken your leg." And I was like sitting there like, my legs aren't broken. I have cerebral palsy. So let me just tell you, that was the most awkward interview, elevator ride of my life. The gal who was interviewing me at the hospital didn't know where the elevator was. I didn't disclose that I had a disability before the interview because, unfortunately, when I disclose that I have a disability, a very visible disability, before job interviews, I don't usually get those jobs. I'm just being honest, folks. So I always think it's funny when people ask me, what actually springboarded you to want to start a business? I wasn't seeing the opportunities and the growth that I wanted to see in my own career and my work. So I created my own opportunities. I know how cliche that sounds, but I don't really care. It's the truth. Now, one of the things I always get asked, do I have a business secret? What's your secret, Erin? You have over 5,000 followers on Instagram, and you've connected with all these disabled people who've won Emmys and have worked in Hollywood and are on various shows. Do you have a business secret? What is your secret? I would say the majority of my DMs that I get in a day are people just asking me, what's your magic touch? I'm like, I have no magic touch. There is no secret to owning a business. There really isn't. And I know that's disappointing for people to hear in a lot of ways. But honestly, it's just about putting in the work, and it's about believing that you're capable of having a business. And now I don't have any magic secrets. And I'm sorry if this sounds super cliche, but I don't have a magic secret, but I do have, oh my goodness, what's happening? Communication skills, which is critical when you're making videos and you're connecting with a lot of people daily. I would say with my Instagram and my TikTok and all the social media platforms that I'm on, linked on and various things, I'm communicating with anywhere from 20 to 50 people, 50 disabled people within a day. And it's very, very important to have communication skills. I'm not gonna lie to you. My background is in sales. I worked for the National Alliance on Mental Illness for 4 years, and my job was to be a fundraiser. So I know how to talk to people and I know how to make money. You do have to have the art of the sell if you want to have a business. I think sometimes when people ask me, how do you have a business? Well, you have to have an idea and you have to sell. If you don't like selling, I wouldn't suggest having a business. I know that's not very nice, but it's the truth. If you don't like the art of the sale, I would consider hiring somebody or contracting with somebody who knows how to do sales, or just work on it. You don't have to be, I think sometimes when people talk to me, especially about their merch line, I'll show you guys my merch. I have merch. They want their merch to be like instantly famous or something like that. And I'm like, that's just not realistic. It takes time for people to identify with your brand. I have people skills. If you're good with people, like Nicole, like Marie, like myself, you can have a business. People love people. I have problem solving and decision making skills. A lot of owning a business is just being able to have the patience and the ability to do due diligence. People are like, how do you do this quickly? Like, what's the secret? There is no secret. I love work and I work all the time, and that's the secret. Like, there's no magic out here. And technical skills. I actually put together events like this because in the pandemic, we had to go to virtual fundraising and virtual walks. Planning a virtual walk as a disabled person is, I was like, so my official title at NAMI was walk manager, and I can't walk. So here's my, like, with these walks and the Alzheimer's Association and NAMI and this organization and all these various nonprofits that have walks, I feel like it's very non-inclusive of disabled people. There are a lot of people with the capability to fundraise. Some of our biggest donors at NAMI were the clients themselves. Now, I use the word clients lovingly because that's how you identify consumers in the nonprofit space. Clients or consumers. But some of our biggest donors, people who would donate $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, were actually disabled people themselves. So again, I feel like we set up these fundraising events not really for disabled people. So I always like to have virtual options because I never really felt a part of walks or, I can't even think of them. You know what I'm talking about. Our walk was a 5K, marathons and various things for cancer and charities, and it's a great way to raise a lot of money, but not everybody can participate in a physical way. And basic business skills. People are like, how do you have an LLC? How do you have a sole proprietorship? I filed one through LegalZoom. They gave me all my paperwork, and I do my taxes regularly through the state of Iowa because that's where my business is based. Anybody can do this stuff. It's not hard stuff. I'm telling you, Google is your best friend. Starting a business is easy. Maintaining it is the hard part. And again, I feel like when people email me, they want some kind of quick fix or something for owning a business, and there is none. You just have to put in the work. Okay, so one of the big things that I talk about with claiming disability and what is in my tagline is the idea of disability pride. What is disability pride? I talk about this all the time. Marie talks about this all the time. Nicole talks about this all the time. And I still don't feel like I have an appropriate way to really explain what disability pride is. But I've come up with a graphic that I think pretty much explains the idea of disability pride. I mean, we could simplify it and we could be like, it's just the idea of having pride in your disability. But I think this graph really helps. So I picked a garden analogy because I love the garden. I can't actually garden. I lie, that's a lie. I can't get down on my hands and knees. I love looking at other people's gardens when I take my dog for a walk. How about that? That's a more honest answer. We all start as little seedlings in the dirt. Our sense of self-worth starts in the dirt. So we really have no sense when we are born as disabled children if our disability is good or bad. Then, as we grow, disabled people are impacted by the elements. What are the elements? Inaccessibility, ableism, medical gaslighting, isolation, lack of representation, lack of understanding, toxic beauty standards, and of course, discrimination. Now, it doesn't matter if you identify as my friend Marie would say, pridefully disabled or not. All disabled people experience these things in our society. We just do. And disabled people have a hard time with all this stuff. I mean, I know I have. I could go into all these things and various examples, but I don't want to waste you guys' time. But I don't know how many times I've gone into a doctor's office and a doctor doesn't believe me, doesn't believe my symptoms, doesn't even know that I'm disabled. I actually don't have an adult cerebral palsy doctor. So if those exist, please somebody tell me. Like somebody put that in the comments or something like that, because as my friend Nicole says, disabled children turn into disabled adults. And I say disabled children because, again, I'm not afraid of the label disabled. Disabled is not a bad word. We don't have to use the term special needs. We don't have to use euphemisms for disability. We can just say disabled or disability. And then, I don't know why this graph got messed up. But anyway, all this stuff and especially particularly the ableism in society, which my friend Marie will go into more detail about, it kills us. It slowly kills us. The idea of this overcoming narrative my entire life. So I have cerebral palsy. I'm disabled as heck, and I have a brother and a sister who are able-bodied. My mom's able-bodied. Everybody in my family is able-bodied. So when I was growing up, my disability was never acknowledged. I was just raised like an able-bodied kid. And that was all fine and dandy. But then when you get out into the real world, you realize that you're not an able-bodied person. I don't have the same capacity as my able-bodied. I don't even know the word. I'm not the same. I'm not the same as able-bodied people, and that is okay. You know, here I was in the workforce working 60 plus hours a week trying to keep up with my able-bodied colleagues. I couldn't do it. Just being honest. I don't know why this graphic got messed up. I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, whatever. But the idea of disability pride, the disabled community keeps us insulated, keeps us safe, accepts us for who we are. When I'm in the disabled community and when I'm fostering my relationship with disabled advocates, I feel safe to be myself. I don't have to hide how tired I am. I don't have to mask. I don't have to pretend I can get up a flight of stairs when it actually really exhausts me. I don't have to do any of that. So that's one of the big reasons I love disability pride. And again, people are like, have you always been this way? You know, just wearing pretty disabled and powerful tees and telling people to be disabled as hell? No. I grew up with an able-bodied family. My husband is able-bodied. He's a medical professional. Like everybody I've ever come in contact with is able-bodied. So I was taught that my disability was bad. It was ugly. It was an ugly part of myself. My father told me I had an abusive father. He said, you were ugly, you were worthless. Like, he said all those things. And I share that story not for sympathy, but I share it because I think sometimes out here we think disabled people or disabled children have perfect childhoods when they don't. And again, that ableism is built in. My father thought that a disability was ugly and I wasn't normal. And he made fun of me for that. And that was very hurtful. But I know lots of disabled people who don't want to have the disabled label. They're like, my disability doesn't define me. You know, I'm defined by my disability, but I know that my disability is not bad. My disability just is. But we acknowledge in the disabled community, it takes time because of the ableism in society that tells us that our disability is so bad. I encounter lots of disabled people who see my identity first, merch and content and various things I create, and they say, why do you use the word disabled? That's offensive. I'm like, not to me. I use identity first language. It's an identity, it's a culture. I'm not offended by it because when I claim it, I feel empowered. But I understand that that's not the case in the disabled community for a lot of people. We are not all the same, as I'm sure you guys have learned in this conference. Cerebral palsy is very different. I am not anything like people I've met with cerebral palsy. I'm a completely different case. We all are. Like, you know, I have severe cerebral palsy. Some people have mild cerebral palsy. Some people are able-bodied passing. with cerebral palsy. And it's all fine. But the main purpose of disability pride is that sense of empowerment and to protect you guys, because it's hard out here to be disabled and not. I learned as a disabled person who was married to an able-bodied person, and my whole family was able-bodied, that I really needed my claiming disability community to feel understood. So hopefully that analogy makes sense for you guys. I made a little graphic. I had a video, but I forgot about it. But I was going to show you how I make these graphics. But disability pride doesn't mean we ignore the struggles of disability. It means it means loving our culture, creating space for disabled people, and acceptance, not sugarcoating challenges. I've had a lot of people say to me, are you celebrating disabled symptoms? Are you celebrating IBS? Are you celebrating gastroparesis? Are you celebrating chronic pain? No, like those are symptoms of our disability. Like that doesn't mean I'm like sitting here going, oh, I have gastroparesis due to my cerebral palsy. I'm going to celebrate that today. That just means we acknowledge that it's there, we get medical help for it, and we move on with our life. You know, part of disability pride is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement for me helps me identify my symptoms, because everybody in my life, including my doctors, have ignored my disability. They don't treat me as a disabled person, you know, with chronic pain and gastroparesis due to cerebral palsy and all of that. They just, you know, they don't even treat the symptoms. Partially, it's not even their fault. We just don't have enough medical professionals, or PCPs at least, that specialize in cerebral palsy. I've had a lot of primary care doctors who are like, I don't even know what that is, which I consider cerebral palsy like the rock star disability. There's tons of people who have cerebral palsy. It's not that unique. Okay, so I love showing my people off of the people who buy my merch and buy my messages and share my stuff. My people mean the most to me. When I make genuine connections in the community, I'm a happy camper. Like, I love seeing people in my merch. I love featuring people in my merch. I love creating designs. I want people to feel empowered when they wear my merch. And I want them to feel good about themselves. I want them to have a shirt or a piece of clothing or a mask that makes them feel good out in the world. Which I don't know where I'm at in time. Is anybody doing timer?
We're 2:56 p.m.
Oh, wow. Okay. I gotta hurry up. But
yeah, you're good until I think you said you had about another 30 minutes or so. You have. So.
okay. But I don't know how well you guys can see, but this gentleman right here has cerebral palsy, and he's wearing his braces confidently on the tennis court, and he's wearing one of my shirts that says accessibility creates real inclusion. And when he bought that shirt, he told me a story. He was in Chicago and he was at a bar and he was having a drink and he was wearing that shirt, and the bartender asked him, how can I make my bar more accessible for people with disabilities? And sorry if that's inappropriate to mention a bar, but that's just where he was. But the owner legitimately wanted to know about ways he could make his business more accessible because he walked in with that shirt on. And he walked into that establishment, excuse me, confidently with his braces on. And they had a conversation for about an hour and a half, ways that Chicago could become more accessible for disabled people. You know, people are like, why do you care so much about merch or people feeling empowered by their disability? Because I know what it's like to feel really bad about your disability, feel ashamed of it. So I feel like I'm giving people a reason to celebrate and cheer. Um, this gal right here from Los Angeles, she's part of the Girls Overcoming Obstacles Daily organization. It's a organization that's based in Los Angeles, working to empower Black disabled girls. So again, like, empowerment is for everybody. In our culture right now, we're moving towards various minority groups feeling empowered by their differences as opposed to disenfranchised by them. I just love my people so much. And one of the biggest things is, like, people are like, how do you sell so much merch? I do features. You have to ask yourself when you want somebody to buy something on the internet, you have to remember how many choices people have. People could be going to Amazon, they could be going anywhere in the world. They can shop all over the place. Why do they want to shop with you? They want to shop with you because your message is special, your message is catered, and you care about them. So just, I know it's simple, I know it's cliche, but care about your people. Like, there's so many people who are like, oh, you actually talk to people, you actually send emails, you actually, interact with your followers. Yes, I do. They're real people. They're real disabled people that are looking for connection. My favorite movement, the Pretty Disabled and Powerful movement. It's one of my most popular shirts. It's the most purchased out of all of them. And again, for me, I need a reason to celebrate and feel empowered. And I feel like I do that particularly with young disabled women. My merch is for everybody. If you feel like a pretty disabled and powerful gentleman, you can certainly, or however you identify, you can purchase and you can feel empowered. And I'm working on a shirt for gentlemen, but I have different brands. But anyway, I have to say this is my favorite because I am a disabled woman. I want to empower other disabled women. Um, this this gal right here in the middle, Heather, she has cerebral palsy. She's from the Midwest, like I am. This young girl here, this adorable little cherub here, is Dallas. She is cute as a darn button. I just love her so much. She has cerebral palsy as well. She is from Chicago and she has her own YouTube channel. She wants to be a doctor slash YouTube influencer. That girl has more moxie than I have ever seen, and I am here for it because as she grows up, she needs to learn to be one heck of a confident young lady. And this is my friend Elizabeth, who just modeled in Runway of Dreams, and she wore her Pretty Disabled and Powerful shirt, and I was very stoked to see that on the runway. Okay, little bit on why I choose identity first branding if you're not familiar with identity first language. Again, the power of it, the power of claiming your disability. I think it's so funny when people are like, oh, well, why would you say disabled? I'm like, have you seen a brand? It's called claiming your disability, not being ashamed of it. Identity first language. I have these conversations on a daily basis. I'm sorry. So identity first language is, again, disabled entrepreneur. There's no separation in the language. There's no separation in semantics. It's a proud identity, and we are part of the reclamation movement. If you're not familiar with the reclamation movement, it's a particular sect of the disability justice movement back in the 1970s that believed in claiming the words gimp, crip, lame, disabled, reclaiming these words back from the able-bodied community. So taking these words that were essentially slurs against the disabled community and making an empowerment statement. That's what it is. So hopefully you guys understand that. And then of course there's person first language, which is person with a disability. There's a distance in semantics because it's, again, the ideology is the able-bodied ideology of person first, which identity language is person first. It's human language, but I won't split hairs. And it's based in the nonprofit sector, and it's based on an able-bodied perspective. Every conversation that I've ever had in the nonprofit sector regarding like a mission statement with person first language or a policy or whatever it may be, it always comes back to what's more comfortable for the able-bodied community as opposed to what disabled people actually want to identify as. And I'm always going to be a proponent of clients, consumers, people in those spaces claiming their own space, having their rights. And some of these people that I've worked with, clients and consumers, have no rights. They're part of conservatorships, which if you guys have seen like the Britney Spears thing, it's where essentially these nonprofit agencies and your legal guardians have complete control over your life and your resources. So for some disabled people, identity first language is all we have to really have of our own. And I'm a child of the system. I grew up on SSI. I was on Medicaid for a very long time, like many disabled people are. And a lot of times working within those systems, the waiver programs, with vocational rehabilitation, you do truly feel like a prisoner of the system. There's certain monetary restrictions you have. There's places you can go. I mean, you're just restricted in so many ways, but I'm not going to get into all of that because we still have I still need to get through some stuff. What do you use with a disabled person? Ask what their preference is. You know, we are in a point in our society where we're asking people what their pronouns are. Ask people how they want to identify in their disabled language. Ask them if they want person first language or identity first. This is a hill the disabled community wants to die on. So, I mean, some disabled people are adamant. Do not call me disabled. And I used to be that way. I really was because of the way I grew up. But I have learned that disabled is not a bad word. Okay. Is my video gonna play? Probably not. You guys want to watch my video? It's adorable.
We see a lot of yeses. Yeah.
Okay, there are yeses. I'm like, because I don't want to force people if they don't want to watch my crappy video, but it's really cute. Sorry. I think she is just so darn cute. All right.
There's no sound on it.
There's no sound.
No.
Can you guys hear it now?
Nicole, put the sound up to your phone is what Nicole's suggesting. Oh, put sound up on your phone, she said. Is there a way to turn it up, I guess?
I just think she's cute as a button.
Yeah.
Like, I know you guys couldn't hear that. I'm sorry, but she's so darn cute. And we need to be teaching. I mean, I love kids. I love students. Working with kids has been one of the joys of my life. And I really feel like we need to teach disabled children young that they are their biggest advocate. So if we can have kids like Dallas, being strong and being brave and happy in their disabled identity instead of hating themselves, for the first 27 years of your life, you're a little bit ahead of the game. Okay. Sorry you couldn't hear that. I apologize for that, Josh. Can you hear
that's
me?
fine. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Again, people are your biggest asset. I'm really surprised when people ask me about businesses or how to start a business. People are never part of the conversation. And I'm like, again, if you don't care about people, don't consider starting a business. A business is a people game, and you have to care about others to start a business. Followers don't matter. I'm sure a lot of people at this conference today have probably reiterated these sentiments. Followers do not matter. I have a relatively small following in comparison to some of my colleagues at this conference and just disabled advocates in general. But I have a lot of engagement on my page. I'm a real person. People like talking to me. That's what it should be about. It shouldn't be about all these fake photos, fake situations that we like to create on the internet because it's not real and people want authenticity. So, question for everybody. Can I open the whiteboard? I don't know. Josh, maybe you can just read me the response.
Yeah, so we have got a couple questions. We have Marie asks, how do you feel that everyone is right now is getting cultural representation like Black Lives Matter, LBGQ, but when it comes to CP or disability culture, we don't get much or any.
Yeah. I mean, disabled representation. I mean, and Marie and I are friends. We've had a lot of conversations about this. Like, disabled representation, it's not there yet. Because again, I think when people view disabled people, they're always viewing it in this kind of sad, pitying narrative that isn't real. We all have cerebral palsy here, and we all have lives that are fulfilling and successful. In a lot of ways, your disability is an asset. I've created an entire career on my disability, and people are like, "Oh, you capitalize on your disability?" Heck yes, I do. My disability is all I got, people. Of course, I'm going to capitalize on it. I've been discriminated against jobs and promotions and all sorts of things because of my disability. Why shouldn't I be able to capitalize on it? Of course I do. But yeah, we don't have the representation. It's just not there. And Marie, who's doing accessible art therapy later, I mean, she just does a wonderful job of creating that disabled representation that we need to see. Because it's more than just disabled people posting pictures or walking or, stuff like that. It's ingraining disability into the culture. Somehow, Marie knows more about this than I do, but throughout your lifetime, you will probably become disabled. Like, being disabled is nothing to be afraid of. And people just need to realize, like, it happens. And it's nothing to be scared of, and feeling empowered by our disabled identity and our resources is the most important thing. Did I answer your question?
Let's see what she says. Nicole asks, how do you transition from working in nonprofit to starting your own business? And Marie says, yes, you did answer her question.
Aw, thank you. Nonprofit to owning my own business. Well, I mean, if you guys want the truthful story, I got discriminated against at my job. I wanted a promotion. I wanted to be promoted to director. I've raised over $500,000. I wanted that title. Not only did I want the title, I wanted the pay raise, because I'm disabled, but I work really hard. And we did not come to an agreement on that. And so I started my business, and honestly, it was just kind of a goofy thing that I started with a friend, where I just wanted to do like a podcast. I wasn't expecting it to become a business, but then I really wanted to leave that job, and I had a conversation with my husband. I'm like, look, I'm miserable at that job. They don't appreciate me. I don't like it there. Like, it's too stressful in the calendar year to be raising all that money all the time, dealing with a pandemic. I can't meet the expectations that the board wants me to meet, and I want to do something else. And my husband was supportive of me filing my LLC and starting this business. So hopefully that answered your question.
Some other questions for Erin?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Let me turn this off if we're doing questions, okay? Are we doing questions or?
Yeah, looks like we are. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. What am I doing? How do I? How do I get back to
There
here?
you go.
All right. I was like, wait a minute. Okay.
Scary, right? Okay.
Hi. Be pretty, disabled, and powerful.
Lori asked, do you have any dating advice?
Dating advice. Guys, I'm not the right person. I'm not. My friend who did the podcast with me for a while was better at that than I was. She also had cerebral palsy. Um, I've been with my husband for 11 years. Our 11th anniversary is coming up this November. Um, hey, hi Vanessa, it's nice to see you. I didn't know if you could make it. I met my husband old school online back in the day through Facebook. We both went to the same high school. I was actually dating a friend of his. uh, and I was with the friend. The friend was a jerk. Kept me in the closet. That's a whole nother thing, like keeping disabled girls in the closet. Am I right, ladies? But we weren't actually dating. I'm a very honest person. We weren't actually dating, um, his friend and I, but I stopped messing around with the friend, let's call it what it was. And then I started talking to my husband, which was his friend. I was like, you're much nicer than that other guy. He's like, yeah, that guy's kind of a jerk. So yeah, we started talking and we bond over movies. But for real, it's a problem. Are you guys talking about dating? It's terrible out here, y'all. I mean, I can only imagine. I haven't been out here, but the stories I hear, people ask me about marriage and stuff like that a lot. And yeah, be yourself, be confident. Um, I didn't date a lot in high school or anything. I wasn't really interested in that kind of stuff. But exactly, there's a lot of disabled people who are married in here. It's not that much of a rarity, you know. Um, I don't want people to think like love is out of their realm of possibilities. It's not. You just have to be like, hey, I'm here, I'm pretty disabled and powerful, and I'm fabulous. And my mom was always like, you don't have to settle for anything. Like, don't settle for the loser. I'm like, hell yes, I don't want to settle for the losers. Don't settle for the losers. You're way better than the losers. If you guys want more information, I can do a one-on-one with you. Love is love.
Mm.
Yes, I agree. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah. So Jen Schwartz asks, I'm curious about the person first versus identity first language. And I find it's still very split even within the disability community. Is there somewhere I can learn more?
So a really good resource for that is Demystifying Disability with Emily Liddell. She has the Accessible Stall podcast. She has some wonderful information. She just published a book about identity first and person first language. Marie, my friend Marie, has great information about identity first and person first. Somebody said the book is good. Yeah, it's a great book. Judy Human, in her book Being Human. If you guys don't know who Judy Human is, she's the mother of the disability rights movement, the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and all of that. Crip Camp, the documentary Crip Camp talks about identity first language versus person first. Crutches and Spice, my friend Crutches and Spice that I've done an interview with. talks a lot about identity first versus person first. So there's a lot of resources. And again, it's identity first is just, hey, Robert. Identity first is just, pretty disabled and powerful. It's just, I'm a disabled entrepreneur. You can see it in my bio. It's just, disabled is not a bad word. It's not. Like, I don't know, like it's just identity first. Like a lot of people in the African American community have, rejected the terminology African American. They say black. Just say black. It's okay to say black. And Nicole has written about it on her blog. Nicole's a wonderful resource. Use Nicole.
Next question. Speaking of Nicole, Nicole asks, what's your favorite thing about creating content?
My favorite thing about creating content, I love creating content. I do a lot of different types of content. Lately I've been getting bored doing like basic graphics, and I use Canva Pro. I don't use anything fancy to make my graphics. I did social media design with NAMI for 4.5 years. So, I mean, I had templated content that I had to use, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. Templated content is when you have, we had specific ads from national that we had to run. So when I put together my ads for my company, it's all me, and I don't have to run my design through anybody. I can post anything I want to. I can use any colors I want. I don't have to go through any kind of swatch or anything. It's all my stuff. I can use all the colorful stuff I want. Lately, I've been working on my disabled critters. They're little disabled barnyard animals, which I hope will help disabled children with embracing their disability, and just again seeing that visibility, seeing a snake with an eye patch, or seeing a dinosaur with a robotic prosthetic arm. I mean, it just normalizes the disabled experience. Okay.
All right, some other questions?
Oh, come on.
Oh, here you. So Marie asks, have you ever heard of people being biased about their own community, and what do you say about that?
I asked about their own community. Girl, you're like throwing those, like you're just getting me in trouble. Bias in our own community. I'll say it. I'm not afraid to say it. Oh, somebody's doing a promo for their podcast. Lauren is doing a promo for her podcast. Lori just had an interview with Judy Human. Good for you. Been trying to get her on the books. I'm actually gonna put my podcast in the chat and stuff for you guys. Let me wait for a second with that question, Marie. Hold on while I do this really quick. You guys can check out all my links here. Oh, there's a lot of questions. Somebody's talking up a storm.
All right. So Nicole asks, where can people follow you?
I am sending it right now.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Allmylinks.com. There it is.
Yes. All my links. I'll link you guys to my podcast here. I have 26 episodes. Various, I've had, which I can show you guys my PowerPoint here. My little thing that makes me happy, imposter syndrome. But this is who I'm interviewing next week. Keith Jones with Rising Phoenix. He just won an Emmy for his outstanding music and lyrics. And he received his award virtually, so he didn't have to worry about.
So we can't, yeah, we can't see your what we're looking at. It's just your face. So, yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
Katrina asks, we love your merch store. What is your favorite merch at your store?
My favorite merch is Pretty Disabled and Powerful.
Yeah, we can't see your face. Your camera's not on.
Sorry, everybody. I was trying to show you who I have on my podcast for next week. Let's put some smart advertising now. Why can't I even find you? How do I get turned around here? Oh, sorry, I'm in the chat.
All right, there you go.
All right. So was Marie's question about, do we think there's bias from the disabled community? Yeah. There's a lot of influencers who think that they're the authority on disability pride and disability culture and disability advocacy. Let me tell you, they're not. I'm not, you're not, nobody is. Disability is not a monolith. We all have different ideas and opinions of, how we celebrate our disability pride and how we go about our life as disabled people. So these advocates out here that claim that they're all knowing on disability pride and various things, they're not. I'm not, you're not, nobody is. So anybody can do this stuff. If you want to be a disability advocate, be a disability advocate. If you need some help getting started, send me a DM. I'm happy to talk you through. But honestly, guys, I get a lot of DMs of just people asking me basic things. And I'm always going to say, there's the school of Google, and it's just about what you want to do. Like, I can't tell you what to do. I have a brand, Pretty Disabled and Powerful, claiming disability. You can't have claiming disability. That's my stuff. But you can create your own brands. And one thing I like that my friend Marie told me, she's never concerned about copying. She works at Diversibility. She has her own branch, her own coloring book. She's published a book. Very proud of her. She is working on a second book. And she's like, I don't really care if people copy me. I'm like, I'm legitimately bothered when people copy me. Like, I'm legitimately bothered when I see disabled advocates who take my wording and they've changed a few things around. I'm legitimately bothered by that. But she isn't, because she's like, you know what? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And I had a friend that I've worked with that I've been advising on their brand. And I saw that they used some of my wording from my mission statement in my website. And at first I was a little taken back. I was like, that's the exact wording. But then I realized, who cares if they're stealing it? And that means your stuff is good. Who cares if they steal your stuff? I mean, people are going to steal. And if your biggest concern about creating content is people are going to steal out here, let me rest assured for you, people are going to steal your stuff. If you're out here in the Instagram space or in social media, people are going to steal. And you have to be okay with it. You have to be okay with it. And you have to know that you have the ability to rise above, create new merch, create new things. Because trust me, if you go down the rabbit hole of like, oh my God, this is copyrighted, all this stuff, which I've totally done with other advocates, you're not going to win. And it doesn't really matter because if they're stealing your stuff, it means it's freaking good. Which, check my friend's stuff out because I promote my friend's merch all the time. I'm not afraid of my disabled friends succeeding. I'm really not. I want them to succeed. You want to know why? Because if they're succeeding, I'm succeeding too. So I'm not afraid to promote other people's merch. I'm not afraid to promote other people's stuff because I'm not afraid of people out here. I have my own brand, they have their own brand. Nicole, yeah, girl, it's definitely happened to you. It's a problem. People steal, but I mean, they're gonna do it, you know. Somebody else is like, it's a problem. Hell yes, it's a problem. Telling you right now. Ooh, build each other up. Whoever said that, Glenn, I like the way you're thinking. Which, by the way, can somebody take a screenshot of me and send it to me because I'll put it on my Instagram later. Any more questions?
Yeah, some more questions.
Comments?
Yeah.
Things I didn't cover? Do you want to talk? Do I have any time, Josh? Kick me off here. Get the Gladville cane out if I'm talking too long.
That's good. We gave you one of the longer sections because we knew people would be asking you questions. So this is good.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a little bit, guys, about the biggest thing out here. Like one of the biggest things that I get messages about that people talk to me all the time about. I have all day, every day conversations with people about fear and imposter syndrome. There's so many people out here with really good content, really good art, really good poetry, really good ideas, really good blogs, and they're afraid to post. They're afraid to put it out there because they're afraid. Oh, thanks, Nicole. I appreciate it. See, friends in high places. It's very important. Sorry, I'm sitting on my walker about that time, but imposter syndrome. Again, your stuff is good. And even if people, how to avoid girl, that is one of those questions. I will let you know how to avoid advocacy fatigue when I figure that one out. Because honestly, it's tiring out here. It's tiring to talk about the same things over and over again. It's tiring to, if you guys look at my content, if you guys follow me on Instagram and stuff like that, appreciate your honesty, of course. That's kind of what my brand is all about, authenticity. If you look at my stuff, my tweets, my content, I'm not afraid to be controversial because you know what? People are going to like you, or people aren't going to like you no matter what you do. When I worked in nonprofit, it was all about people, places, who you knew, how much money you had, all that stuff that doesn't really matter to me. I grew up in a trailer park, okay? None of that stuff matters to me at all. I grew up in poverty and I was disabled, and my parents had to take me to the hospital all the time. We had no money. So money and things like that, that doesn't really motivate me. Being a real person after 10 years of feeling like I've had to fake my way through life is what matters to me. It should be about happiness. If social media doesn't make you happy, if disability advocacy doesn't make you happy, don't do it. It's very tiring out here, and if you don't have that like grit of being like, you know what, I don't really care if you disagree. I mean, I'll have a conversation with you and I'll have a dialogue because I'm not afraid of dialogue, but I'm not defined if people don't like me anymore. Because I lived 10 years where I was like, oh, I have anxiety, I have mental illness along with cerebral palsy, which a lot of people with cerebral palsy do have some form of mental illness. It's a dual diagnosis. Hi, Dallas, it's Mom. We just showed a video. It's only audio though. But I keep getting distracted. Sorry, guys. But yeah, advocacy fatigue is very real. Sometimes it's hard to not take things personally. I had an episode this week where I got angry at some comments that I got for some stuff that I posted. I'm a human person. I get angry. I have triggers. I grew up in abuse. Like, I'm an angry person. Like, I have mental illness. I have disability. Like, there's a lot of things going on. But I don't want to hide it anymore because I spent a lifetime of, my mom, when our dad would yell at us and treat us bad and the physical things and all that stuff, my mom said, hide it, don't talk about it. People don't want to hear ugly things because that's where she came from. My grandparents were alcoholics and abusive. She was like, we don't talk about abuse. And so that shaped my life for a lot of years. I'm like, you don't talk about the ugly stuff. You keep that all inside. And then one day it nearly killed me. All the ugly stuff nearly killed me. I've been holding in it for so long. So now my life is about being real, being authentic, and it's gotten me far because people are like, wow. I think it's really odd when I get messages that are like, how are you so real? I'm like, we're living in a pandemic. You can't be real during an apocalypse. There's no other time you're going to be authentic. I mean, is that terrible? But seriously, like, we're in an apocalypse, folks. Now is the time to be real for yourself. Like, I mean, think about it. You could be dead next week. Just saying. Like, life is precious.
So we got a few more minutes left, and we got a couple questions here for you. Shannon asks, I'll ask you the same question I asked earlier. What do you feel diversity and inclusion means, and are you happy to see the evolution of the disability movement?
I love the evolution of the disability justice movement, the disability pride movement, which I feel like everybody here, who has participated is part of. You're all a part of it. Whether you're, as my friend Marie says, her hashtag, whether you're pridefully disabled or not, we're all part of this movement. And again, we understand that claiming our disability and accepting disability pride, it's a process. I didn't accept the fact that I was disabled until I was 27. So I was walking around disabled as heck, just being like, I'm not disabled, I'm an able-bodied person. Like, because we're so afraid of being disabled as a society. So it's not linear. You're not gonna wake up every single day and be like, oh, I'm pretty disabled and powerful. Like, but I have diarrhea and I can't get off the toilet. Like, some days it sucks. Some days it sucks to have a disability. I had a really bad fall recently where I broke 2 of my teeth. Like, I fell directly on the concrete like I used to do when I was a kid. And I used to get off the paratransit bus. I used to just bust up my face because my walker would just hit the ramp just right Y'all know what I'm talking about. But like, I mean, sometimes having a disability sucks. And you know what? That's part of disability pride too, because that's real.
Good. Well, thank you. And we have we're wrapping up right now. So we do have some questions here, but please reach out to if you want to reach out to Erin later. More than welcome to. I'm sure she'll be able to talk to you after. So thank you very much. Let me just get the camera up on here. Remove the.
Thank you for your lovely gift basket. I'm gonna take a picture before my husband eats the cookies.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Erin. Appreciate it. And this has been great. This is some great information that you're able to share. So thank you very much.